Okay, it looks like it's time to get started. Thank you everyone for joining our live lecture today. My name is Isaac and I'll be the lead instructor for today's workshop. And the topic for today is going to be how to build a slot machine application using HTML and JavaScript. A couple things to mention before we get started today. The first one being is we're not going to be taking questions during the workshop. That way we can get through the actual application build. And then at the end, that's when we're going to open the floor for questions. So we just ask if you do have questions come up along the way, you wait until the end to ask them. Another thing to mention is we're going to be recording this workshop. So if we're going a little too fast or you didn't catch something, just keep in mind that you can always watch the recording later. Okay, and that link's going to be made available to you in your student dashboard. Okay, so to get started, I've prepared a simple starter kit for us. Okay, and so we can locate the starter kit by going to my GitHub and then going to the slot machine starter kit repo. And from here, I'm going to copy that onto my clipboard. And we'll go ahead and we'll clone that onto our desktop. Okay, so I'm going to say git clone, paste. Now I have that repo. Let's go ahead and change directories into that repo. And let's open it up inside of our text editor here. Okay, so we're opening up our slot machine starter kit. Okay, and let's just kind of walk up the file tree here and discuss what's going on. Okay, so right here we've got an index HTML file. And this is going to be, our main UI. Okay, so we can view that by simply copying the path. And then let's go ahead and throw that in our browser. Okay, as we can see right now, we're just getting, this empty body, right? Okay, next we have an app.js, which this is where we're going to put all of our slot machine logic, right? Randomly generate numbers and scores based off those. Okay, and then we have some images, and these are just going to be the images we'll display to simulate a slot machine, right? Simulate those different, characters. So to get started, we need to set up the UI, user interface. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head to my index.html. And I'm going to start off by setting up a title so the user knows what it is. Okay, so we'll go ahead and say this is our slot machine app. Okay. And then let's go ahead and put a button. That button's going to allow us to run the slots. So we'll go ahead and we'll set the button, and I'll just put start here. Okay. Then let's give this an onClick attribute. This is going to point to a function inside of our app.js file. Okay. Let's go ahead and go to our app.js, and let's add the start function. Okay, and now I can reference that start function here in my onClick event. So now each time I click the button, it'll run that start, and which time we can, randomly generate new slots. Okay, so from here, we need to have the results, right? After the button's clicked, it's going to display, either, lemons or cherries. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's put results section down here. Okay, and then right below results, let's put 3 outputs. And I'm going to be using images for my outputs. Okay, so I'm just going to say image. And I'm not going to give this image a source, but I am going to give it a ID. Okay, so I'll just call this my first output. So I'll say output 1. Okay, and then I'm going to create 2 more outputs. I'll just call them different IDs. Okay, and these are going to be randomly populated with lemons or cherries, right? And just like normal slots, if we get 3 in a row, we'll get jackpot. Otherwise, we won't get any. So now we have our user interface set up. Let's go ahead and save all, and let's refresh. Okay, so as we can see, nothing yet. So now we need to add the functionality to the start button. So we can come over here to our app.js. Okay, and the first thing we need to do is we need to declare 3 random numbers. So to do this, we're going to be using JavaScript's random method. Okay, there's a built-in random method we can use to generate that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my first variable, and I'll call it result1, and it's going to be equal to math.round. Okay, and then I'm going to pass in math.random times 1. And that way, each time, I'm always going to get a 0 or a 1. And based off the 0 or 1, I can display a lemon or a cherry. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's do the same thing for result 2. Okay, again, we don't need to change the rounding logic, right? Because we just want a random number assigned to that variable. And then we will have result 3 here. Okay. All right, so now we have 3 different results. Now what we need to do is we need to display these images based on those results. So I'm going to just start with my first output here. I'm going to target this output. Okay. I'm going to say document, get element by ID. The ID is called output1. Okay. So from here, we can go ahead and we can use the dot source. Okay. So this is just like, you know, if I come in and I add a source attribute here, right? I'm doing that, you know, pragmatically inside my app.js. Okay, so I'm assigning a source here instead. And the source I'm going to assign to it, well, it's going to be either a lemon or cherry. Okay, and how I'm going to assign one of 2 results is by using a ternary operator. Okay, and ternary operator, if you're not too familiar, it's just like an if-else statement. Okay, except instead of having to write an if-else statement, we can, you know, comprise it inside of an assignment. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to say the source for output 1 equals, and then for ternary operator, what we'll do is we'll say if result 1 equals 0, then we want to assign it the cherry. Okay, remember it's only return 1 or 0. Okay, so I'll go ahead and pass in that file path. Okay, so I'll say images/cherry.png. Okay, and now for the second part, this is like the or part of my statement, right? I'm going to say if it equals 0, then assign it this URL. However, if it does not equal 0, then we're going to assign it the lemon URL. Okay, so let's just go ahead and say /images/lemon.jpg. Okay, .jpg, and those are different file types. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's test this out. Let's see if we can get, you know, one of these to you know, generate. So we'll save all. Let me refresh. We hit start. Okay, and as you can see, we get that result. Okay, so now what we can do is let's go back and let's add a width and a height, right? And that way, you know, we don't just have uncontrolled chaos. So I'm going to say height equals 100, width equals 100. Okay, and let's add those attributes to these outputs as well. So we save all, refresh, we hit start. Okay, as you can see, based on the result that's generated, it's going to return a random fruit, right? And so now we can do the same thing with these other 2 outputs. So we'll go to app.js and we'll say document.getElementById output 2 dot source equals, then we'll do the same exact thing, except we're going to look at result 2 this time. So we'll say if result 2 equals 0, well then we can use this same assignment here. Okay, so we'll assign a cherry if it's equal to 0. We'll assign a lemon if it's equal to 1. Okay, and we will run that on output 3 here. And result 3, we'll assign one of these 2. Okay, so now we have that set up. Next step is, let's go ahead and let's refresh our browser. Okay, see we start off with nothing, we hit start, and as you can see, we have 3 randomly generated fruit. And each time we hit start, you see it's gonna throw different combination in there. Okay. So now we have the user interface working for our app. Now we just need to add the logic which determines if they get 3 in a row, if they get jackpot, or if they need to try again. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by putting a set timeout. Okay, and if set timeout, if you don't know what it is, it's just a small delay in our program. And this will allow us basically enough time to render all of these images, okay? Because, if we don't give ourselves a small delay, we're just gonna get the alert pop up before our images render, okay? So let's just do a small delay of 1.5 seconds. And how we can do that is we'll use the set timeout. And it's gonna accept 2 arguments. The first argument is the function which we're going to run after the timeout is done. So I'm going to pass in a function here. And then the second argument, we'll pass a comma here, is the number of milliseconds to wait before running that function. And I'm just going to put in 1500, which will equivalent to 1.5 seconds. Okay, so after 1.5 seconds, we can then evaluate if all 3 results match or if they do not. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's throw an if statement here. And our if statement is going to evaluate the following expression. We're going to say if result 1 equals 0 and result 2 equals 0 and result 3 equals 0. Well, that means they're all the same fruit, right? They're all cherries. So if that's the case, they win, right? They got the jackpot, okay? But we also need to take into account if it equals all lemons, right? That's also a jackpot, okay? So let's go ahead and put an OR operator here, and then we'll just pass in another expression for the 1. Okay, so we'll say if result 1 equals 1 and result 2 equals 1 and result 3 equals 1. Okay, so if either of these cases are true, then they have a jackpot. So we'll go ahead and throw an alert, and we will say jackpot. Okay. Otherwise, if all 3 of them don't match, then that means they just don't win. So they need to try again. So we'll just throw an alert, and we will say try again. Okay. So let's go ahead and save all. Refresh our browser. Okay, we don't start off with anything. We roll our first slot. And as we can see, they don't match, right? We don't have a match, so it's letting us know we need to try again. So let's start one more time. And this time you can see, because all 3 of them line up, we win a jackpot. Okay, so this is how we can create a simple slot machine app using just a little bit of JavaScript and HTML. So now let's go ahead and let's take our source code and let's commit it to our GitHub account. And that way, you'll have it on file and you can review it later if needed. So to do this, we're going to have to first erase this .git file, okay? And right now, yours may or may not be showing up, okay? And if it's not showing up here, if your folder isn't showing up, you can just go to Code, Preferences, and Settings. And then inside Settings, you just need to put this file exclusion for Git inside there, okay? And then once you do that, your .git folder will show up. Okay, so now I'm going to take this folder and I'm actually going to delete it because this is a starter kit, right? And it's not going to let me, commit my starter kit if it has, this Git folder already. So I'll just delete it like that. And then we'll just start this process from scratch, okay? So we'll go to our GitHub account and we'll go to add a new repository, okay? And we'll call this Slot Machines Workshop. And today is the 10th. So we'll say 4/10/18. Okay, and we will create. Okay, and then I'm just going to copy this remote address and we'll start the process of initializing our Git repository. So I'm going to say git init. That'll start us off. And we'll say git add all. And then we will say git commit, which this is our initial commit. Oops, yeah. I should have put git commit -m, initial commit. That's better. Okay. And now I'm going to add the, address. Okay, from here, I just have to say git push origin master. Okay, so now that is saved, we can go ahead and look at it. And, we can come in and review it, right? We need to see that stuff later. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's open up the floor. And let's see if anyone has any questions. Floor is open, guys. Feel free to ask if you have any.
Okay, so I got a question. The way that you uploaded it to GitHub through Terminal, is that the only way that you can upload your code?
No. You can drag and drop your code too. They have that option. However, I will say the way I did it right now is the most proficient. As far as that's what you're going to see in the everyday workplace as far as what developers do. No developer drags and drops their code. This is like considered the professional approach.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, good question though. Anyone got any other questions?
Yeah, real quick. For the if statement you have there, could you have done where result 1 equals result 2 and result 1 equals result 3 instead of having it there so that it could, if you decide to add more images in the future, that would make it easier to expand?
Yeah, absolutely. And in the future even, I would recommend the more, if you had like more than 3 results to evaluate, I would just end up running a loop, right? And it would look something like if results at the index of I equals 0, right? So it would just compare each one. So yeah, if you had several fruit, right, you wanted more than just a couple, you would just definitely either add more statements here, or you could, just throw all of your stuff in an array and just then compare it that way.
Okay.
Great question. Anyone got any other questions today? All right, going once, going twice. All right, we're out of here. Thanks everyone for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed the workshop today. Have a great rest of your day and happy coding out there.